Anywhoosies, hi.
Hi.
Nice to virtually see you.
Nice to virtually see you as well. Hopefully, this sounds better than last time we did it because you have updated your mic.
Ashlyn got a new mic.
And I actually looked at the recording software and figured out that I could change our audio levels while we're recording. So,
We're evolving as humans and as technological beings.
yeah,
Well,
I
it's
can
super.
I can see down your shirt.
We don't be a little hoe. Make
I didn't
me
know. I didn't know we were
be
putting it
more
all on
conservative.
display or what.
I mean, to
Okay.
each their own.
It's okay. I'll just fix that part.
Why?
Okay, we'll leave it
Who
in.
cares?
All right. That's great.
It's just a little cleavage.
Okay.
Um,
So, if you couldn't tell, we are recording from our homes again.
Yes, via the Zoom. Shout out to Zoom if you're interested in sponsoring. Um,
If anyone
yeah,
wants a
so
sponsor. Yeah. So we did it
um,
again because our work lives have caught up to us.
more like Haley, she has gone back to work and
Yeah,
realized how this is not easy to just be reading book after book.
it's
And I
not.
am very happy that she has now come into my world and realized that I just cannot keep reading all of these books.
I have not read a single book since going back to work
Yeah.
last month. So Matt was like, "What do you mean you haven't read? You just read a book the other day." And I said, "No, no, 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 no. I read a very easy read that was 120 pages. That's like
Not a
not
book.
even a book.
Yeah,
That's
hardly. It's a
like
novella.
that's when authors put out like 12 of those.
Y-
Then reading all 12
Okay.
would be different, but
Okay.
I read one. I was like, that's not a book.
Yeah, no,
So,
definitely not. That's like the I shouldn't have brought it up because now I can't remember the name. The Joker book that we were like, oh,
the
everyone's
games
talking
we
about it.
play.
The games we play. Everyone was talking about it, and then we looked it up and we're like, oh my gosh, this is literally like 100 pages.
Yeah, it took like what, like 2 hours to read it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we finally got around to finishing Book Lovers by Emily Henry. If you also forgot what we were reading this month, because we have also changed our reading schedule to once a month so that we can also get our work lives under control and actually read the book, pay attention, and review it well.
Yes, precisely. Um, so Haley, would you like to give a little brief synopsis on what this book is about?
Sure, let me just look and see what the back actually says so I don't mess anything up. All
Smart
right, basically, it's about two book lovers. One's a book
people.
editor and
Yep.
one's an agent for authors. Nora always has bad luck with men, and she's basically like that movie with Chris Evans, where like she's the one that all the guys date before they find their lucky someone. Do you know what movie that is?
Rings a bell, but I can't think of the name of it.
Okay, well she's like that. She's like the girl that these guys date, and then they end up having their Hallmark moment, moving off, marrying the Christmas tree farmer, and having a happily ever after. And so she ends up alone. Her sister convinces her to go on a vacation to the location that one of her authors wrote in her book called Sunshine Falls, a little small town, because her sister is also hoping she will have her own Hallmark moment and find the love of her life. Well, lo and
But
behold,
what to clarify, the sister's married. It's also to make sure that Nora finds the love of her life.
yes, not the sister. The sister is fine. The sister is
Yes.
married. She's looking out for Nora. But she actually ends up running into Charlie, which is kind of like her enemy, and
Yeah.
not at all who you think she would go for. So
Yeah, I mean, this is basically an enemies to lovers trope.
enemies to lovers. So yeah, it's a really quirky, really funny. I loved it. So that's a little brief synopsis. So if you
Um,
haven't read it,
you know what to do.
you know
Stop,
what to
get
do.
gone, come back after you've read it. This is actually the first enemies to lovers that I actually enjoyed.
Same,
I
because we
usually,
what? Which one did we read recently where neither of us liked it?
uh,
Where's enemies to lovers?
the first one was the hating game, which the book was way better than the movie.
I still hated the book, but yeah.
Anywho, I can't remember. Was the other one
It was the
the
one we read in our
Sun
book club.
Honeymooners?
Yes.
Kaylee's favorite book.
I hated
She
that book so
loved
much.
that book.
So yeah, the two books that we read with our book club that were enemies to lovers, I did not enjoy reading at all.
And I straight up told them I don't want to read any more enemies to lovers. But then Laura in our book club mentioned this one.
Yeah, so we read it, and it was the first one that I've loved.
Yes.
Loved. Because they weren't
Um,
really enemies for a long time. Spoiler
and they were
alert.
hardly enemy. I mean, like it's hard to even say that they were enemies.
They
They
just
had one run in.
didn't get along that one time.
Yes, precisely. And then when they saw each other, I mean, it wasn't like a I hate you. Like it was like a oh, it's
Ooh, what are you
you
doing
again.
here?
Yeah. So Haley, what would you rate this book?
A full five.
Wow, look at you, a 5 out of 5.
Right, five.
What about the smut scale?
Honestly, like a point five.
Okay, so yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5, but I gave the smut a 3 out of 5. As a reminder, Haley does how much smut is in the book. I do it based on how good the smut was.
Mm-hmm.
Based on her point 5, it's because there was literally one
One
scene.
scene. I mean,
Um,
there was like some tension,
there
right?
was sure, and they alluded that there were times after that, but never, it was basically a fade to black after
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, but
And
the one scene, it was like,
it wasn't great. It wasn't
but again, the book did not revolve around that.
absolutely, which was fine. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for a book that isn't like it has a little bit of spice, but not a lot. Although I do tend to lean toward the more spicy books. A shout out, by the way, to my mom that I gave My Killer Vacation, and she just goes, "This has a lot of sex in it," and I was like, "Yes,
That
welcome
is
to my
that kind
world,
of
mother."
book. That is, yeah. I gave it to my mom as well. I don't think she's read it yet because she has yet to tell me what she thought of it. And she was really quick to tell me about the love hypothesis and it happened one summer. She was really quick to tell me about those. So I don't think she's read My Killer Vacation yet.
Well, I figure after this, I'll be like, here, give me back my book, first and foremost. And secondly, here is One by One by Ruth Ware. And I think
Oh,
she'd probably like that one a lot more.
that one's really good. My sister has that one. I loaned it to her and I've yet to receive it back.
Fun times. But yeah, so like there wasn't, I'm not even gonna say a lot because there really was
There's
not there
hardly
was
anything.
very, very little.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I gave it a 3 based on just because it wasn't overly like maybe one page, like really the bulk of it was half a page.
Mm-hmm.
It was not long. So 3 out of 5. Nothing against the author. I just prefer more.
Yeah, honestly, I loved the book without
Still gave
it.
it a 5, yeah.
Yeah, I loved the book without it, and it was a book that I recommended to Matt. Again, for those who don't know, Matt's my husband. He really loved The Deal by Elle Kennedy that we covered last time. And so I
Hmm.
was like, oh, Matt, if you like the banter back and forth between Hannah and Garrett, you will love Charlie and Nora because their emails that then progressed into text messages, I loved it. It
Yes.
was so funny. So I
I
did
just love that
recommend
they
that
were
one.
I just love that they were doing everything over email. I'm like, how 1900s are you?
And, well, yeah, I guess email was 1900s. I thought of like 1905 when you said that, and I was like, there was no computer.
How late 1900s are you? Throwback to the AOL when you had to start up the computer and just watch it and walk away while it dialed up. Fun times.
I can hear
Wow,
the
that was such
noise.
a good
I
imitation.
can hear the noise in my head of dial up.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it sounded exactly like it.
Thank you. I've been practicing.
Okay, so first things first, I just want to say that I love shout out to Emily Henry. I had to look because I forgot the author. Shout out to Emily Henry for doing a girl who is above the age of 25. She
She's
was 32,
32.
and I was like, shout out. Yes, we do not all find love in our 20s, unlike some people.
Sorry.
Just
I did my
saying.
late 20s, okay?
So 32, I was like, shout out. She's 5'11". She's like definitely not like your typical book person, which is literally the whole point
This whole
of
book
the
is
book.
not a typical romance novel. Like, it is not a Hallmark movie. And I was not expecting that. It's an
I
anti
loved it.
Hallmark movie. Because I'm going to be completely honest. I love the books where they're a city person and they go to a small town. They fall in love with the small town. They want to open up a bakery and they get with a lumberjack, which they Emily Henry made fun of the whole time in this book. And I just have to say, yes, I fall into that cliche. And I was expecting a Hallmark movie when I read this book, but it is not. It's still great. Happy ending. Happily ever after. But she's a city girl at heart, which I thought
And I
of you
love
the
that.
whole time.
Thank
I
you.
I
I
did.
kind of thought of me too. I was like, ah,
I was
the
like, this
life.
is Ashlyn's dream right now.
Yeah, that's why I love the book. Yeah, no, and when I was reading it and I was like, if they end up in this effing small town, I'm gonna be pissed. But then,
Yeah.
as you know, the ending, they ended up in the city together, and I was like, that's how we do this. That's how we do this shit. I was so happy.
I was actually concerned about how the book was going to end because at one point when her sister decided, to finally tell her that they were moving there, I was like, oh no, she cannot give up her whole dream finally being a book editor. And then, Charlie was saying, go, you cannot stay here for me, like, go. But in the back, like, I didn't know how it was going to end, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking maybe the sister would take over the bookshop that she helped revitalize.
Oh, I called that shit. Like I
Yeah,
was already kind of thinking that someone was going to take over the bookshop. And as
right.
soon as she was like, what do you think of this house? I was like, she's moving there and
Yes.
she's taking it over so he can go back. I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
called it. I called
Well,
the whole thing the whole
I
time.
really thought the sister was going to get a divorce. She
I did
really
not.
had me going with the divorce lawyer. I was like, oh my gosh. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, maybe the sister's going to get a new life. She's going to want to stay in Sunshine Falls, do the bookstore, leave her husband. But I was also wondering what was going on with their marriage. It was just, she really had
Yes.
me going. I did not know what was happening up until they went to the house. And that's when she kind of found out that her sister was moving there. Then it all clicked into place. But until then,
Agreed.
I
That
had
was the
no
only
idea.
part. Yeah, that was the only part that was kind of like hanging on for me that I was like, but why would she have brought in a family attorney? Like
Hmm.
I was like, maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they're just writing up their will and like she's blowing this out of proportion, is what my
True.
brain went to. Um,
I thought
but yeah, no, that was
divorce.
the only part. Yeah, I was like, that was the only part. Well, I mean, the book also leads you to
Hmm.
believe that it's, they're going south. Um, but no, I loved the whole premise of the story, how it wasn't the traditional Hallmark, and definitely loved that and I love the beginning when she was just like, I'm the bitchy city woman who every girl or every man, leaves me to go after the small town girl. And I was like, RIP. Oh, I actually wrote down a very specific.
Tell me.
She said, oh, by the way, I also said, I bet this is like 3 pages in. No, that's not true. I don't know when I wrote this, but I said, I bet Charlie is from the small town and that's why he doesn't like the book. The author overly romanticized the town that he grew up in. I
Ashley, no,
called
you
this.
did not.
I absolutely did. I called this whole, well, you can't see that. I called this whole freaking book.
What?
Um,
I thought he just didn't like Hallmark books. I thought he was, a depressive, snobby guy that
um,
was didn't want to do another cliche small town.
yeah, well, yeah. But I, I didn't, I was reading it via book, so I had to like physically type it out. I said, it's a quote from Nora, and she goes, I, meanwhile, have approximately one romantic bone in my body, and once it shattered and I pinned myself back together, I developed a rigorous vetting process for dating. And I just said, hashtag relatable. I was like, I love this book. I love this book. And then they started talking about the Bigfoot erotica, and I was like, what is going on? That's Haley. This is some shit. And Haley, I'm exposing you and you know it. I don't know if you've read Bigfoot yet, but it's probably not that far down on the list.
I I haven't. But as soon as they said that, I thought about one of the Facebook groups that we're in. And I was like, those girls need to read this book.
Yes. Yes. Um yeah, and then right after I said Bigfoot erotica greater than signs, I said called it. He's from Sunshine Falls. I'm just saying. I was all over this.
I, considering I read this book in its entirety today,
Same.
I didn't have too many theories going on. I was just trying to read it quickly and get through it. Um, but I will
There's
say, wait.
All right, I was just gonna say there's always time for notes for me.
Oh, well, I mean, I tabbed mine a little bit. I have a few
Oh, look
tabs
at
in here.
you.
Yeah, I have a few tabs in my book. Mainly, I didn't do like plot and characterization. I just did like favorite quotes and scenes and that kind of stuff. And then I have one sad one. But I really enjoyed how you did not know their whole story right off the bat.
Yes.
Like, still, how did the mom die? Please tell me, because I don't know if I missed it. I was reading, and then she got to the very end, and she was telling him the reason why she can't stay the night at a guy's house, and she just
Yeah.
said that she was with Jacob, and then her mom died, and Libby was trying to
You know,
call her, but
you know, I don't remember. Was it talked about?
I don't know, and I think that's part of the story too, is that you only get like small pieces throughout the whole book. So I don't know if it was something in the very beginning, and now I need to like go back and look it up, but that's part of it. Like they slowly unwrapped like another layer to each other as they went, and
Yes.
finding out all this stuff about Charlie too, because I feel like we've been so used to dual point of views recently. This one
Yes.
is only from Nora's point of view, which I love. I sometimes I don't like the back and forth, but you don't really know Charlie unless he's talking to her. So
Correct.
I did like that he slowly would open up more and more, and you found out why he is the way he is and how him
Yeah.
growing up with his education. And my little heart was just Charlie, oh poor baby.
Yes. Yes, and the fact that even Nora slash Emily Henry was like pointing it out that we were only getting little nuggets of information of him. She
Mm-hmm.
was like, just unwrapped another thing. And I was like, yeah, I like that. I like that we're learning as we go. You don't have to know everything about somebody the minute you meet. Like,
Yeah.
this is normal. This is how a relationship works. Like, you learn as you progress.
And I know we talked about Tessa Bailey's back and forth banter in My Killer Vacation, but Emily Henry's back and forth banter in this book had me ruffling.
There were several scenes. So I was at my parents' this morning, as you know, and there were several scenes that I like was genuinely LOLing at. And
Mm-hmm.
it was one where she, and I didn't write it down, but it was one where she goes, she was talking about that smart ass lady in the phone or whatever. And he goes, most people call her Siri.
Yes.
I
And he
read
was
that to
like,
my parents and my
no.
dad laughed.
Yeah, Matt was playing his video game in the living room with his headphones in because, he wants to be in the same room as me. Um,
Mhm.
so I was reading and I would randomly laugh and I would get him like looking at me from the side, just like, why are you laughing? Why? Acting
You're
all
like,
grumpy.
because it's a good book. Maybe
And
you should read it.
yeah, I told him twice. I said, you need to listen to this book. So we'll see.
One thing that I didn't overly love, which is just super nitpicky of me, I just did not love that Libby called her sissy.
I was gonna say that to you. That is the only thing I hate when grown people call their siblings names like that.
I
Sissy.
don't have siblings, so but like here's the thing. I was okay, so for those who don't know, Haley does know because I went through this whole process. I didn't have the book, but I got the audiobook from my library. So I was originally listening to it on audiobook. And I just did not love how the narrator just kept saying sissy. And I was like, no, 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 hard pass. I don't like it. Pick a different nickname.
Yeah, I just don't like audiobooks in general because I get secondhand embarrassment very easily. Very easily. So when Matt was listening to The Deal and I was listening to whatever woman was voicing Hannah, I was highly uncomfortable. So much.
Yes, I do not love audiobooks, but I did not purchase this book until after I'd had the audiobook. So I listened to like the first 40 pages in audiobook and that was and a little here and there while I was also doing chores. Um, but yeah, no, that was the only part that I was just like, I'm out. I don't like that. But otherwise, I liked everything.
Yeah, I really don't have much that I had an issue with at all. Um, I do like, what was I gonna say? Oh, I do like that she met Shepard. And
Yes.
she had the chance to actually go out with this guy who seemed really genuine and nice, not Blake, Shepard. Blake was a,
Blake was horrendous.
that's a Tinder date gone wrong. Um,
Absolutely.
but I did like that she had the opportunity to meet someone else, and besides just Charlie, because Charlie seemed so perfect in that moment.
Hmm.
Because Shepard, sorry Charlie, Shepard is my cup of tea. So I was
Charlie's
like,
mine. So,
I liked Charlie's wit, but when I read romance novels, I go for more of the Shepard kind of guy.
and I like that Emily Henry, made him out to be like not so much a country bumpkin. Like he went to Cornell. Like he has
Yeah.
his own bit. He's building this huge ass like house, mansion, whatever, how big it is, on this huge plot of land. Like he obviously has money, which to be fair, most ranchers do have
Mm-hmm.
some money, but that like education, like a lot of like rural people just do not have any higher education.
Ashlyn, can you hear the lawnmower?
Nope.
Great. Okay, cool. I can hear it. I'm gonna take
It's
out
just
that.
going to annoy you,
Well,
not
I'm gonna
me.
take out the background noise just in case. Who's mowing their lawn? It is 7:30 in the evening.
Haley, it's been hot today. It is now only 88, compared to,
It's also Labor Day. We're recording this on Labor Day Monday because we're both off of work. But it's 7:30 in the evening. Bro, go
yeah.
home.
Bro, he is home.
Bro, go inside. I don't want to hear your lawnmower. Um,
Um, yeah, so yeah, I agree. I like Shepherd, and I do like that she had the opportunity to, cross off one of the lists and just be like, I did go on a date with, I don't know if a date was one of them or if it was like very specifically a kiss with a,
no, it was two dates with
oh,
locals.
well,
So she
then
went
she
on two
technically
different
did. Yeah.
dates. Yeah, I mean, technically she went on three if we're going to count Charlie as a local once he decided to stay there. But I also wanted to talk about like her past trauma because normally I'm very nitpicky with how people have trauma in books, but I feel like hers was completely founded, and she had that inner turmoil of having to take care of her sister because she was her legal guardian when her mom died.
And especially since she got all of that debt that her mom had put them in.
And
I was like,
Libby, I
that's
guess Libby
horrible.
never knew the extent of the debt because she was
I guess
saying
not.
when the people donated $15,000, it didn't even touch it.
Yeah.
And Libby was crying happy tears. So I don't think that
Yeah.
Libby really knew anything. Which also, she's 16. I think that you could have shared that with.
Yeah. Because what, they were 4 years apart? Because she was
She was
20,
20
right?
and Libby was 16. So
Like
yeah,
she's old enough to know, like,
mm-hmm,
this helps, but we're not out of the clear.
yeah. So I think that that's one of the only issues was she should have shared more with Libby, but I think she just wanted to protect her from everything like she did when they were little. Um, and so she then it ended up backfiring because Libby didn't know all the sacrifices that she was making for her.
Absolutely. But I do just want to quickly call out, while I do love Libby, that was a bitch ass home move to not tell your sister, who you are so close to, that you bought a house. Like you haven't even, like you're about to close on the house.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even tell her you were looking. That's
Or
some
just
that's some hoe
mention
move.
that your husband is getting relocated. Like a heads
Yeah, I'm
up would have
like,
been good.
especially when now they have 2.5 months, which I guess is, I mean, it's a pretty significant amount of time,
Yeah.
but even still, it's like you made a big life decision without even telling her. I'm not saying you have to consult her, like, you don't have to ask permission, but like somebody that you're this close to and are hanging out with all the time, you should probably have looped her in when this whole thing was going down.
Yeah. But also, I was thinking too, families move across the country all the time.
All the time.
But Nora was acting like her world was ending. I understand because Libby was all she had. And that's all
Yeah.
she thought she had because all of her boyfriends leave her. So I know
Yeah.
she was super attached to Libby, but she was acting like her life was over.
Yeah.
But that is
That
also
was a
what
bit
made her
extreme.
it is what made her cry again for the first time in 10 years and go
True.
running to Charlie. So I guess that is an upside, but I did think that that reaction was a little over the top. But
I don't
also, I don't
disagree.
think that I have that same kind of relationship with either of my siblings. So if one of them said that they were moving across the country, I would just say how long is the flight. so so I know what to expect when I visit, but
I mean, you also didn't go through like losing parents and now you're
right.
the only thing you'll have. Like that would be pretty challenging.
I mean, if you left
Um,
me, I think I would be a little distraught. It's already
um,
hard enough that you live an hour away from me, but
Meanwhile, you have literally talked about several times you and Matt relocating out of state. So how do you think I feel?
it's not going to happen because Matt's not leaving his job. But I am saying his company just bought another company in Wales. And I told him if they ever need him to move, we
Oh
will
yeah.
go to Europe. Like this just happened, like, I think last month. And I said, Matt, do you ever need to go visit that company in Wales? And he said, no. He said, my job is not the same as that job. So that's a little disappointing, but
Yeah, I do quite enjoy that my job, I could work from anywhere. Um, like I'm currently Dallas based, but if I wanted to be like London based, I probably could. I just have to work here, I think, for maybe like a year.
that's not bad.
But um I'm already basically halfway there. So over
And
halfway. But
if you move anywhere, all I need is another bed. I don't even care if it's a bedroom. Pull out couch works.
cool. Cool. Noted.
Thank
Will
you.
do.
Thank you.
Yes, I genuinely did love Libby and Nora's relationship, and I did like that. I liked this to-do list. I mean, they were going there for a month. Granted, it was very heavily on Nora, like, and as at the end we found out why. But
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like y'all should have had more together to-do lists, like items, but whatevs. But I liked that because they were there for a month, they were, experiencing things that they wouldn't normally do if they were just popping by for a weekend or whatever.
I want to know what Libby did all day
Same.
because they went there to hang out, but Nora ended up working until 5 every day, and
Yes.
Libby just had me time. But she was very secretive, so I didn't know if that had something to do. Maybe she was going to look at the house. Maybe she was
I,
just talking
yeah.
to Sally a lot. I don't
Well, I
know.
thought a lot of different things. And one of the things that I even wrote down was I wish we had heard more around the planning and the actual event of Dusty
Right.
coming to and like this whole big shindig
Mm-hmm.
to save the bookstore, which we never, I mean, I guess it was saved. Like we don't really get a whole lot
It's
of closure.
the epilogue was very not descriptive. It was,
Very completely,
but
yes.
in the epilogue it said, or maybe they're celebrating that the bookstore has had an increase in sales or something something, or made
Yeah.
like the highest profit it's made in the last 6 months. It like there was a sentence in the epilogue basically saying that the bookstore was doing well,
Yeah.
but I think
But
she
that's
did that on
basically what I
purpose.
Yeah, that's basically what I assumed. I was like, okay, so I'm assuming that she's been planning this event that's going down because she was an event planner before all that was going down, like family and children and everything.
Right.
And and I guess had to do with the house, but like we never would have known that before.
I'm sorry, I'm looking up something really fast because the whole book she kept saying that she reads the last page.
I was like, that's Haley.
No, but right. So there in the epilogue, not one name is actually written down.
I
So
remember because it was just a lot of she's and
you
a lot
can
of
read the
they.
epilogue and you don't know if she ended up with Charlie. Maybe that's Shepard, but you don't even know if it's actually her.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, technically the last sentence does say, I know he says I can read you like a book. So I mean, like I wouldn't think that that was
Yeah,
Charlie.
and I guess it does mention that he went back to Wharton House books. But if you haven't read the book and all you do is open the last page to read it, you won't know what happens. Aside
Did
from that
yours
someone's happy at the end.
did yours have a reader's guide and then a uh there's a behind the book where the author talks about the reason why she wrote it. There's discussion questions, Nora and Libby's ultimate reading list. Do you have any of that?
Wait.
It
Oh.
looks like this. You saw it just now?
Well, because I never read the acknowledgments.
Oh my gosh, Haley.
Oh my
So I read the behind the
gosh.
book. I read the behind the book, and Emily Henry is basically like, I love Hallmark movies. She's obsessed with them. She loves the whole, like you said, the quaint, the quaint story of the big town guy falls for a small town girl. But she was like, I always wondered what happened to the girl who got dumped. And I was like,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And she said that the beginning, like the working title of this was City Person instead of Book Lovers, which I was like, I'm glad we switched it, to be fair. The City
City
Person
person.
doesn't quite have the ring to it. And then she compared it to like The Devil Wears Prada, Miranda Priestley,
She
The Parent
did,
Traps,
and that was,
Meredith Blank.
yeah, she did like name those in the actual book. I remember that.
Um,
But
yeah, and then the discussion questions, I was like, ooh, we're gonna do some of these. Haley, get ready.
oh, she put Verity on the ultimate reading list by
Yes,
Colleen
which I have
Hoover.
not read. I have not read. The only other one on here that I even recognize is the Kiss Quoting by Helen. I don't know how to say her last name, but I haven't read it.
Huang.
I just recognize it.
The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. That is on my TBR as well. No, I honestly, I'm gonna try to keep reading Verity, but I'm probably like a quarter in, and it just hasn't hooked me. A lot of people go crazy about it, but I'm very bored reading it right now. Maybe it'll get better. But yeah, I don't
Uh,
recognize any of these other ones.
yeah, no, I didn't
Hmm.
either. And I mean, I'm just like, shout out to Emily for like recognizing other authors and giving them like even a little
Yeah.
bit more exposure.
Well, I'm excited though because when I bought this book, I bought two other books by Emily Henry. So I'm hoping her other ones live up to this hype because I did get Beach Read and The People That We Meet on Vacation, which are both on my shelf right now. So they're gonna be
I got
next.
People We Meet on Vacation
Yes.
and Allie Hazelwood's Love on the
Oh,
Brain.
I heard good things about that one. I want to get that one too because I love Allie Hazelwood.
Yeah, one of my coworkers read it the day it came out, and she was literally like, I'm hardly even working right now, but like I am reading this book, and she loved it.
There's another Allie Hazelwood one too about roommates, right? Under the Same Roof.
Maybe.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to look it up because I've heard good things about her other book too. And I
Okay,
follow
so
her on Instagram. I'm just saying, Allie's funny. Allie's quirky, and she's
okay,
nerdy,
okay.
and she has really fun, like funny reels that she posts on Instagram. So I like following the authors because they're usually pretty fun. Like Tessa. Tessa's
Yeah,
TikTok.
I love this.
She's a little awkward, but
You know
I
what?
I love
To
her
each their own.
TikToks. I love them.
She thrives behind the pages, so
Oh
that's
yeah,
what matters. But I would like to ask you one of these discussion questions
go for it.
or two.
Hmm.
What was the book that made you fall in love with reading? Or fall in love again with reading? But I think you never really stopped.
I never. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I took a long break from reading after college. I did not read very much. But I think the book that made me fall back in love with reading was when we read The Love Hypothesis.
Really?
Yeah.
That long?
Yeah, because I mean, we were just so busy with our lives after college. I was working night shift. I was not, I didn't have a lot of free time. And then I started dating, and then I felt like the only time I had off I was dating. And then now I'm finally married and settled down, and when we started the book club was when I started reading again. So yeah, I think The Love Hypothesis really like set the bar for the books that I
Yeah,
like. But
that
I
was a really
think
good one.
yeah, I think I really started love gonna go back to Twilight.
That was mine.
Middle school reading Twilight, like that just set me off. I was like, what is this? It was like my
Well,
first romance novel.
yes. Yeah, yeah. So, I have a mildly depressing story. So I went to this charter school, which, if you don't know, is a
Hmm.
mix between public and private. And but we still had to wear uniforms, so that was fun. But I was in third grade, and the principal, I guess, called my parents in and basically were like, she's gonna fail third grade because she's not reading at a fifth grade level.
Okay. Goodbye,
So,
principal.
uh,
GTFO. Thank you.
yeah, pretty much. So I went on I went on a rebellious spree and was like, well, fine, if you think I'm not reading enough, then I'm just gonna stop reading. So unless I was forced to read, which, those few books that we were forced to read in high school,
Mm-hmm.
I did not read for fun. The only time I started reading for fun was Twilight. I only read Twilight. I did not read anything. Well, no, that's not right because
You
I
read
did read
Harry
a few
Potter,
other.
didn't you?
No. I read like Hush Hush and I
Mm.
read
The Fallen
um
series was on
the
your
Fallen
bookshelf.
series.
Because I remember
I
in your
read
house when we were in high school, you had that whole
oh,
series.
it's actually right there. I just brought it home.
Nice.
Um yes, and the Marked series by the PC Cast and Kristen Cast. But those I kind of took like a mild break in between middle school and high school. And then what got me back into it was 50 Shades of Grey.
Because I read Fifty Shades of Grey in high school, so that was before my break from reading. So I
Hmm.
had read Twilight, and I think I may have mentioned this before when we recorded. I read Twilight, loved it. My grandma knew I loved it. My grandma bought me 50 Shades of Grey on a Kindle and said, "Hey, I heard that this is Twilight fan fiction. Will you read this and tell me if you like it?" I think I was a freshman or a sophomore in high school, and I read it, and I got to like one BDSM scene, and I said, "Grandma, this is not Twilight." I don't know what you
It's
bought me,
fan fiction of Twilight. She didn't say it is Twilight.
but I don't think she realized what it was. But it was really funny. But then I got my mom and my sister to read it, so we read that whole series when I was in high school. But then college
I
happened, and college and life after.
Yeah, yeah. I actually recently found out that apparently I got my entire female side of the family to read 50 Shades of Grey. And I only recently found out after my grandma died. I was like,
Because wasn't it
wow.
on her bookshelf?
It was, yeah. And I was talking to Courtney, one of my cousins, and she was like, oh, yeah, Mimi told us that you liked it. So we all went and got it. And I was like,
Wow. Who knew you were recommending books back then and you didn't even realize it?
throwback. Um, yeah, no, that was an experience for me to find out. I was like, oh, wow, okay, well, just so you know, my reading style hasn't changed all that much.
Still the same, guys. Still the same.
Yikes.
Mine has branched out quite a bit. I'm not so
Yes,
much into but I was never Team Edward. I was always Team Jacob, so I'm not really into like vampire books. But
I was very much.
werewolves hit me up. I'll talk about those all day long. So
Vampires, hit me up. I'll talk about those all day long. I actually just saw The Invitation. Have you seen it yet?
I thought we were gonna go see that together.
I saw it with Jeremy.
That's just
Sorry.
rude because Matt doesn't want to go see it in the theater. I thought we made plans to go see that
To be fair, I saw it on September 3rd, which was National Movie Day.
when all the tickets were
And
cheap.
yes, all the tickets were cheap, which meant there were so many children in the theater.
Seeing the
And I was,
invitation.
yes, and I was so mad because so many of them were on their phones in the dark theater. And I'm like,
You know we're
please
getting
stop.
old, Ashlyn, when we're the grouchy people in the theater.
And they wouldn't shut up. I was so angry. I was so angry. So, anywhoosies, I will see it again, just for the
Okay, because I
record.
do want to watch that one. That one looks good. I
I'll see
didn't
it
realize it
again.
was vampires until I saw the second trailer. Like the
I didn't
original trailer
realize,
I saw did not make it seem like it's vampires, and then the second one they had fangs, and I was like,
yeah,
here we
I
go,
sent the trailer that I watched to Jeremy, and he was like, "Oh, vampires! No wonder you like it." And I was like, "Wait, what?
vampies.
They're vampires?"
I just thought it was like some weird, like your next kind of movie with rich people trying to kill people.
I just saw that they slit the lady's
They
throat,
slit the
and that's
man's
like,
throat, and you're like, okay,
that's all I got.
casual,
Um,
no biggie.
Casual. I mean, I will say I can't say that it's like my absolute favorite movie, but I will watch it again with you.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Um,
Well, so
so
let's get back.
yeah.
Anything left to add to book lovers?
I don't believe so, but I think we should probably tell everybody what we're reading. Oh, I did want to say one more thing.
Okay.
I read my notes. I did love that Libby called her literally 8 minutes after she left and was just like, "Hey, just checking in on you." I was like, "Oh my gosh,
As she's like
that's so
sobbing
sweet."
on a sidewalk in New York City.
Yes, that I just wanted to add that one
Oh,
little, and yeah,
and I
that was
did
it.
want to add, I knew Charlie was going to show up at the bookstore when she said it was December 12th. And I was like, all right, well, Charlie's going to be there waiting. But then
Yeah,
Libby said,
absolutely.
Has my present arrived yet? And I said, Charlie's the present.
I called that too. Yeah, I was like,
I was like,
okay,
this is
all
the
right,
Hallmark moment that I've been waiting for. Oh, there's a
precisely.
mosquito in here. I'm gonna kill it.
Okay, well, that pretty much, unless you have anything else to
No,
add, that
that
I
was
think that
it.
that wraps up everything on Book Lovers by
Mm-hmm.
Emily Henry. So we just picked our next book. I have read several books by this author. You have probably seen her on TikTok or Instagram Reels. It's V or VI, not really sure, Keeland, and we will be reading Beautiful Mistake.
Which, Ashley, you want to just tell them real quick kind of what it's about?
I won't give you too many details, quite frankly, because I don't know them, but I will tell you that it is one of my favorite tropes, which is basically student teacher, but it's not quite. It's more like professor and professor's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, as per usual, very cliche, supposedly there is some sort of like beef between them, like brief beef between them, and they don't realize who they are to each other until that first day,
And
which
like,
is
oops.
it's genuinely a little boost of serotonin for me. I love that kind of stuff.
And I honestly have not read a teacher book. I know you've recommended some to me, but I have not
You
read one.
haven't?
No. So this will be my first teacher student slash assistant relationship book that I'm going to read. So I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So this one is not on Kindle Unlimited. I did just
Right.
look. It is $4 if you have a Kindle or the Kindle app and want to get it on Amazon. Also check your local library. I was
Mm-hmm.
able, like I said, to look at start the audiobook. I could have read the book, Book Lovers, but it was already on hold and checked out. It was like, estimating 7 months. And I was like,
It's a real popular book right now.
it is very popular. So yeah, so check out your library. If not, otherwise, you may have to buy it or borrow it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is what we will be reading. And again, we have moved monthly, so that one will be next month in November. No, October, excuse me.
You cannot skip Halloween, Ashlyn. I am so sorry.
I'm so sorry
Oh,
for you.
I just realized we're not doing a spooky book for October, but it's fine. Maybe we can do one like the first week of November. It can be our
No, I
spooky.
take it back. We have to change it right now. We have to read. I will reread it. We have to read by Ruth. I can't ever say her name. It's like Ruth
Is this your
NYX or something.
Gothicana book?
Yes, Gothicana.
Okay.
It's still a student teacher. Haley.
So we're reading two student teachers back to back. All right, listen,
Hey.
guys, this is off script, not scripted. Okay, change of plans. October is spooky season. We'll read Gothicana. I'll post the picture somewhere over here, and then we'll just be ready to read Beautiful
Beautiful mistake.
Mistake in November. But just so everyone knows, because we are moving monthly, our next episode will come out the first Wednesday of every month. So that will be October 5th. Is going to
Right.
be the next episode.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you said that. I guess I just blocked out October
I know.
completely.
I blocked it out, but I pulled up the calendar just so I could know what date it was going to be released on. And I was like, oh, October. I thought we were going to read a spooky book.
Yeah, if anyone else wants a spooky book recommendation, which Haley, I don't think you've read either, I highly suggest the X Hex.
That's on my list. Yeah.
It's like a cute, quirky read. It's not heavy. It's very Hallmark-esque, but spooky a
It's
little bit.
witches or
So
something.
it's witches, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, highly recommend that one as well. But we will be reading Gothicana, and I am pumped.
Not Beautiful Mistake, even though
Not
we
bad.
just gave you a little synopsis. I have no
Same
idea
that.
what Gothicana is about, aside from it being spooky and teacher student.
That's all you need to know.
Great. So we will see you next month with Gothicana and Beautiful Mistake in November. Okay?
Precisely. All right. Well, everybody have a super great rest of your week, and we'll talk
Oh,
to you. Oh,
and if you
oh,
haven't gone to Patreon already, Patreon, we are actually about to go record Credence by Penelope Douglas.
correct.
So, love this book. Second time I've read it. So, if you would like to hear about Credence by Penelope Douglas, hop on over to Patreon and give it a listen. And if you
Love it.
don't follow us already, follow us on all social media, Bookaholics Podcast. It's also where we update so that we did notify people who follow us that we are changing to once a month. So don't miss out on any updates.
Yes. Okay. Well, I hope we're ready to close this one because we keep having little
I know. Let's be
extras.
done with this one. We've talked
Okay.
enough.
We'll
Okay.
see you next month, guys.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great September.
Bye.
Bye.